A stingy old lawyer who had been diagnosed with a terminal illness was determined to prove wrong the old saying, "You can't take it with you." After much thought and consideration, the old ambulance chaser finally figured out how to take at least some of his money with him when he died. He instructed his wife to go to the bank and withdraw enough money to fill 2 pillowcases. He then directed her to take the bags of money to the attic and leave them directly above his bed. His plan: when he passed away, he would reach out and grab the bags on his way to heaven. Several weeks after the funeral, the deceased lawyer's wife, up in the attic, cleaning, came upon the 2 forgotten pillowcases stuffed with cash.
"Oh, that old fool,"
she exclaimed.
"I knew he should have had me put the money in the basement."
So a guy walks into a post office one day to see a middle-aged, balding man standing at the counter, methodically placing love stamps on bright pink envelopes with hearts all over them. He then takes out a perfume bottle and starts spraying scent all over the envelopes. His curiosity getting the better of him, he goes up to the balding man and asks him what he is doing. The man says, "I'm sending out 1,000 Valentine cards signed with guess who." "But why?" asked the man. The man replies, "I'm a divorce lawyer." One morning, a blind bunny was hopping down the bunny trail and tripped over a large snake and fell, kerplop, right on his twitchy little nose. "Oh, please excuse me," said the bunny. "I didn't mean to trip over you, but I'm blind and can't see." "That's perfectly all right," replied the snake. "To be sure, it was my fault. I didn't mean to trip you, but I'm blind too, and I didn't see you coming. By the way, what kind of animal are you?" "Well, I really don't know," said the bunny. "I'm blind, and I've never seen myself. Maybe you could examine me and find out." So the snake felt the bunny all over, and he said, "Well, you're soft and cuddly, and you have long silky ears, and a little fluffy tail, and a dear twitchy little nose. You must be a bunny rabbit." The bunny said, "I can't thank you enough, but by the way, what kind of animal are you?" The snake replied that he didn't know either, and the bunny agreed to examine him. And when the bunny was finished, the snake asked, "Well, what kind of an animal am I?" The bunny had felt the snake all over, and he replied, "You're cold, you're slippery, and you haven't got any balls. You must be a lawyer." NASA was interviewing professionals to be sent to Mars. Only one could go, and he couldn't return to Earth. The first applicant, an engineer, was asked how much he wanted to be paid for going. $1 million, he answered, "because I want to donate it to MIT. The next applicant, a doctor, was asked the same question. He asked for $2 million. "I want to give $1 million to my family," he explained, "and leave the other $1 million for the advancement of medical research." The last applicant was a lawyer. When asked how much money he wanted, he whispered in the interviewer's ear, $3 million. Why so much more than the others?" The interviewer asked. The lawyer replied, "If you give me $3 million, I'll give you $1 million, I'll keep $1 million, and we'll send the engineer to Mars." So an investment counselor decided to go out on her own. She was shrewd and diligent, so business kept coming in, and pretty soon she realized that she needed an in-house counsel. Excited in her runaway success, she began to interview young lawyers. As I'm sure you can understand, she started off with one of the first applicants. In a business like this, our personal integrity must be beyond question. She leaned forward. "Mr. Peterson, are you an honest lawyer?" Honest? Replied the job prospect. Let me tell you something about honesty. Why, I'm so honest that my father lent me $15,000 for my education, and I paid back every penny the minute I tried my very first case. Bowled over by the apparent honor of the applicant, she exclaimed, "Impressive. And what sort of case was that?" The lawyer squirmed in his seat and admitted, "He sued me for the money." So, an architect vacationing on the Riviera met an old lawyer friend and asked him what he was doing there. The lawyer replied, "Remember that lossy real estate I bought? Well, it caught fire, so here I am with the fire insurance proceeds. What are you doing here?" The architect replied, "Remember that lousy real estate I had in Mississippi? Well, the river overflowed, and here I am with the flood insurance proceeds." The lawyer looked puzzled. "Gee," he asked, "how did you start the flood?" So a man wanted to be dismissed from jury duty, but none of his excuses worked. So on the day of the trial, he asked to approach the bench. "Your Honor," he said, "I must be excused from this trial because I'm prejudiced against the defendant." "Oh," the judge asked. "Yes," the man replied. "I took one look at the man in the blue suit with those beady eyes and that dishonest face, and I thought, he's a crook. He's 100% guilty. So, Your Honor, I couldn't possibly be on this jury." The judge replied, "Get back in the jury box. You are just the kind of juror we are seeking, a good judge of character." The man protested, "How can you say that?" "Because," the judge said, "that man is the defendant's lawyer." So a woman was sued by a man for defamation of character. He charged that she had called him a pig. She was found guilty and fined. After the trial, she asked the judge, "Does this mean I cannot call Mr. Johnson a pig?" The judge said that was true. "Does this mean I cannot call a pig Mr. Johnson?" asked the woman. The judge replied that she could indeed call a pig Mr. Johnson with no fear of being charged with a crime. The woman turned, looked directly at Mr. Johnson, and said, "Good afternoon, Mr. Johnson." A big city lawyer was representing the railroad in a lawsuit filed by an old rancher. The rancher's prize bull was missing from the section through which the railroad passed. The rancher only wanted to be paid the fair value of the bull. The case was scheduled to be tried before the Justice of the Peace in the back room of the general store. The city slicker attorney for the railroad immediately cornered the rancher and tried to get him to settle out of court. He did his best selling job, and finally the rancher agreed to take half of what he was asking. After the rancher had signed the release and took the check, the young lawyer couldn't resist gloating a little over his success, telling the rancher, "You are really dumb, old man. I put one over on you in there. I couldn't have won the case." The engineer was asleep, and the fireman was in the caboose. When the train went through your ranch that morning, I didn't have one witness to put on the stand. I bluffed you. The old rancher replied, "Well, I'll tell you, young fella, I was a little worried about winning that case myself, because that darn bull came home this morning." My friends, if you want to watch other funny jokes, subscribe to the channel.